Ladies and gentlemen, imagine for a moment that you're handed a winning lottery ticket. It's worth millions, life-changing money. But here's the catch: you have just 24 hours to cash it in. And you must show up as the best version of yourself to claim it. Now, ask yourself, are you ready to cash in on the opportunities life has already handed you? The truth is, life's greatest rewards aren't handed out, they're earned. Not by luck, not by chance, but by the person you become. Success isn't something you pursue, it's something you attract by becoming the kind of person success is drawn to. Let me tell you a story. There was a young man who worked as a janitor. Every day he mopped floors and cleaned offices. But he didn't stop there. During his lunch breaks, he read books on leadership, business, and self-improvement. He listened to audio programs while commuting. Over time, he grew and his mindset shifted. That janitor eventually became the CEO of a company. His story reminds us of one powerful truth: your future isn't defined by your current circumstances, it's shaped by your personal development. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. These words changed my life when I first heard them. If you improve yourself, your skills, your knowledge, and your character, opportunities will naturally find you. You see, your income, your relationships, your happiness, they are all a direct reflection of your growth. Think about it. How many of us wait for things to change? We say, if only my boss would notice my work, or if only my partner would understand me. But here's the secret. When you change, everything around you changes. Let's take a practical example. Imagine a farmer who plants seeds in the spring but neglects the soil, skips the watering, and forgets to pull the weeds. Come harvest time, can he blame the weather? No, the harvest reflects the effort he put in. Life works the same way. Your results are determined by the effort you invest in growing yourself. Now, let me ask you, how often do you invest in your own development? Are you reading books, learning new skills, surrounding yourself with people who challenge you to be better? Because the small disciplines you commit to today will compound into extraordinary results tomorrow. Here's another quote I live by: don't wish it were easier, wish it were better. The path to greatness is paved with challenges, but those challenges shape you into someone capable of handling bigger opportunities. Let me ask you something. Have you ever met someone who seems to have it all: a great career, a beautiful family, financial stability, but they still feel unfulfilled? On the flip side, have you ever encountered someone who, despite challenges, radiates confidence, joy, and a sense of purpose? What's the difference? The difference lies not in what they've achieved, but in who they've become in the process. Success is not measured solely by trophies, titles, or bank accounts. True success is determined by the person you become along the way, your character, your values, and your capacity to grow, adapt, and contribute. Achievement without growth is empty. But when you focus on becoming more, everything you achieve gains meaning and depth. I'll share a story with you. There was a man who, by all external measures, was highly successful. He owned a thriving business, lived in a luxurious home, and drove the finest cars. But deep inside, he felt hollow. You see, while he had built his business, he had neglected to build himself. His relationships were strained, his health was deteriorating, and he lacked a sense of purpose. Eventually, it all came crashing down. After losing his business, he made a critical decision. He realized he needed to rebuild not just his wealth, but himself. He began investing in his personal development, reading books, attending seminars, and surrounding himself with people who challenged him to grow. Slowly but surely, his perspective shifted. He became more disciplined, more empathetic, and more driven by purpose than by profit. When he rebuilt his business, it wasn't just a business, it was an extension of the person he had become. And this time, it thrived on a solid foundation. This story isn't unique. Time and again, we see people achieve lasting success, not because they focused on the end goal, but because they committed to becoming the kind of person who could handle and sustain that success. As the saying goes, success is not something you pursue, it's something you attract by the person you become. Now, let's break this down. Why is personal growth the foundation for lasting success? Let's take a moment to think about a house. If you want to build a tall, sturdy building, what's the first thing you do? You lay a strong foundation. Without it, no matter how impressive the structure, it won't stand the test of time. Personal growth is your foundation. It determines how high you can build and how well you can withstand life's storms. Here's an example from nature. Consider a tree. Its fruits are visible for all to see, just like the external achievements in our lives. But the fruits are only as good as the roots, what's hidden below the surface. Your personal growth is your root system. It's the unseen work, the daily disciplines, the learning, the self-reflection. And just like with a tree, if you neglect the roots, the fruits will wither. Think about this. Have you ever been given an opportunity you weren't quite ready for? Maybe it was a promotion, a leadership role, or a major responsibility. Without the personal growth to match the opportunity, it can slip through your fingers. That's why personal development isn't just an optional extra, it's essential. One of my favorite quotes is this: you can't control the wind, but you can adjust your sails. Personal growth is about adjusting your sails. It's about preparing yourself for the opportunities, challenges, and changes that life inevitably brings. Let me share another real-life example. There's a woman I know who worked as an entry-level employee in her company. She wasn't the most experienced, nor was she the most talented, but she had a habit of investing in herself. She took online courses, read leadership books, and sought out mentors. Over time, she didn't just get better at her job, she became a person others wanted to follow. Eventually, she was promoted to manager, then director, and finally she became the CEO. Her growth as a person created the foundation for her professional success. The beauty of personal development is that it compounds. A little effort every day adds up to extraordinary results over time. If you read 10 pages of a book every day, you might not notice a difference tomorrow or next week. But in a year, you'll have read several life-changing books. If you commit to improving your communication skills, you won't become a master overnight. But in a few months, your confidence and relationships will begin to transform. Another important point is this: personal growth doesn't just benefit you. It impacts everyone around you. When you grow, you become a better parent, a better partner, a better leader, and a better friend. The ripple effect of your growth extends far beyond your own life. Let me share with you one of the most transformative ideas you'll ever hear. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. At first, this might sound counterintuitive. After all, aren't we supposed to give our all to our work, to push ourselves to achieve more, to get ahead? But let me tell you something. The secret to success isn't found in working harder on tasks, it's found in working harder on yourself. Think about it for a moment. Your job, your career, even your business are all temporary vehicles. They might change, evolve, or even disappear. But who you are, your skills, your mindset, your character, those stay with you. Those are the real assets that determine how far you'll go, not just in your career, but in life. Let me share a story. There was a young salesman who was struggling to meet his quotas. No matter how hard he worked, it seemed like his results barely improved. Frustrated, he decided to seek advice from a mentor. The mentor asked him, "How many hours a day do you spend working on your job?" The salesman proudly replied, "At least 8 hours." The mentor then asked him, "How much time do you spend working on yourself?" The young man was puzzled. "What do you mean?" he asked. The mentor smiled and said, "If you spend even 1 hour a day improving your skills, learning and growing, your job would start to take care of itself." The salesman took that advice to heart. He began reading books on sales techniques, listening to motivational speakers, and practicing his communication skills. Within a year, his performance skyrocketed. He didn't just meet his quotas, he exceeded them. And it wasn't because he worked longer hours or tried harder, it was because he became better. This is the essence of working harder on yourself. When you invest in yourself, you increase your value. And when your value increases, opportunities naturally follow. Let me ask you this: how often do you set aside time for personal growth? Are you reading, learning new skills, or seeking out mentors? Or are you so focused on the grind that you've neglected the one person who can truly change your future you? There's a quote I love: success is something you attract by the person you become. It's not about chasing opportunities, it's about becoming the kind of person who attracts them. If you want better results in your career, your relationships, or your life, the best place to start is with yourself. Take a look at the most successful people in any field. What sets them apart? It's not just their talent or hard work, it's their commitment to growth. They read, they learn, they adapt. They don't stop improving even after they've achieved success. Think of it like this. Imagine you're driving a car on a long journey. If you spend all your time focusing on the road but never stop to refuel or maintain the car, how far will you get? Working harder on yourself is like maintaining and upgrading the car. It ensures you're prepared for the journey ahead, no matter how tough the road gets. Here's another example. There's a young woman I know who worked in customer service. She had big dreams but felt stuck in a dead-end job. One day she decided to invest in herself. She took online courses in digital marketing, read books on leadership, and practiced public speaking. Within a year, she was offered a role in her company's marketing department. A few years later, she was running her own business. Her success wasn't about luck, it was about preparation. She worked harder on herself than on her job, and as a result, her opportunities expanded. The same principle applies to all of us. When you focus on personal growth, you're not just improving your skills, you're changing how you see the world and how the world sees you. You're building confidence, resilience, and a mindset that can adapt to any challenge. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine two people in the same job. One spends their evenings watching TV, while the other spends an hour each day learning a new skill or reading a book that broadens their perspective. Over time, the difference between the two becomes massive. One stays stagnant while the other grows. And guess who gets noticed when new opportunities arise? It's also important to remember that working harder on yourself doesn't mean neglecting your responsibilities. It means making time, even in small doses, to invest in your growth. One of the most powerful lessons I've learned is that the greatest investment you can make is in yourself. Unlike material possessions, which lose value over time, your growth compounds. Every new skill you learn, every mindset shift you experience adds to your ability to create, lead, and thrive. Working harder on yourself doesn't just benefit your career, it improves every aspect of your life. It strengthens your relationships because you become more empathetic and understanding. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. These words aren't just advice, they're a blueprint for living a life of purpose, growth, and endless possibility. When you commit to becoming better, everything in your life starts to get better. Let me ask you a question. How often do we look at big achievements, big successes, and think they happened overnight? We see someone lose 50 pounds, someone else build a thriving business, or another person write a best-selling book. And it's easy to assume that some big, dramatic leap got them there. But the truth is, the most extraordinary achievements don't come from one-time efforts or grand gestures. They come from small, consistent improvements repeated day in and day out until they add up to something transformational. Imagine a dripping faucet. One drop of water doesn't seem like much, does it? It's small, almost insignificant. But let that faucet drip continuously, and over time it can fill an entire bucket. That's the power of consistent effort. Each little action, no matter how small, contributes to the bigger picture. And when you string those actions together, the results can be life-changing. I remember a man I once met who decided he wanted to get in shape. He wasn't the kind of person who liked going to the gym, and he didn't have hours to dedicate to working out. But instead of focusing on what he couldn't do, he focused on what he could. He started with something simple, 10 push-ups every morning. Just 10. That's it. But here's the thing, he did them every single day. And after a month, 10 push-ups turned into 15. Then 20. A year later, he wasn't just doing push-ups, he was running marathons. His transformation didn't come from one intense workout session. It came from small, consistent efforts that built momentum over time. This principle applies to every area of life. Whether it's improving your health, building a skill, growing your career, or strengthening your relationships, the key isn't to make a massive leap overnight, it's to commit to daily disciplines. Let's take another example. There's a woman I know who wanted to write a book. The thought of sitting down and writing hundreds of pages was overwhelming. She didn't know where to start, and the sheer size of the task made her feel paralyzed. But instead of focusing on the whole book, she focused on one page a day, just one page. And over time, those pages added up. A year later, she had a finished manuscript. That book went on to become a bestseller, but it wasn't the product of a single burst of inspiration. It was the result of consistent, small steps, day after day. Success is the sum of small efforts, repeated day in and day out. This quote couldn't be more true. The magic lies in the compounding effect. When you make even a tiny improvement and repeat it consistently, it doesn't just add up, it multiplies. Over time, the impact of those small actions grows exponentially. Let's think about this in financial terms. If you invest a little money every month and let it grow with compound interest, that small amount can turn into a significant sum over time. Personal growth works the same way. The small actions you take today may seem insignificant, but over months and years they can completely transform your life. Now, let's be honest, consistency isn't always exciting. It's not flashy. It doesn't get immediate applause. But it's the consistency that separates those who wish for success from those who achieve it. Think about an athlete training for the Olympics. They don't wake up one day and suddenly break a world record. They show up every single day, rain or shine, whether they feel like it or not. They focus on improving just a little bit with every practice session, and that consistent effort is what leads to greatness. I once heard a story about bamboo. When you plant a bamboo seed, nothing seems to happen at first. For weeks, months, even years, there's no visible growth, but underground, the roots are spreading, creating a strong foundation. Then suddenly the bamboo shoots up, growing several feet in just a few weeks. That rapid growth wasn't magic, it was the result of all the unseen work that happened over time. It's the same with personal development. You might not see immediate results when you start practicing a new habit or working on a skill, but just like the bamboo, the foundation is being built. And when the results come, they'll come in a way that feels almost miraculous. Let's bring this back to something simple. Imagine you commit to reading 10 pages of a book every day. Just 10 pages. It might not seem like much, but over a year, that's 3,650 pages. That's 10 books. Now imagine doing that for 5 years. You'll have read 50 books, gained knowledge, and transformed your perspective, all from a small daily discipline. Or maybe you decide to dedicate 15 minutes a day to learning a new language. 15 minutes won't make you fluent overnight, but a year from now, you'll know far more than you did when you started. The key is to stay consistent, even when it feels like progress is slow. There will be days when it feels like nothing is changing, when you're tempted to quit because the results aren't visible yet. But remember the bamboo. Remember the dripping faucet. And remember that every small action you take is moving you closer to your goal. The beauty of small, consistent improvements is that they don't require you to be perfect. You don't have to get it right every single time. You just have to keep showing up. Miss a day, get back on track the next. What matters isn't perfection, it's persistence. Every great achievement starts with a simple decision to begin. And every transformation is built on the foundation of daily disciplines. Whatever goal you're working toward, focus on the small steps you can take today. Because when you do, you set in motion a process that will lead to extraordinary results over time. Let's talk about something that changes everything. The idea that you don't chase success. Success is something you attract. And how do you attract it? By becoming the kind of person that success is naturally drawn to. This isn't just about luck or timing, it's about who you are, how you show up, and the energy you bring to the world. Think about it. Have you ever met someone who just seems to light up the room when they walk in? They're confident, focused, and intentional. Opportunities seem to follow them wherever they go. Is it because they're lucky? Is it because they're in the right place at the right time? Or is it because of who they've become, their habits, their mindset, their way of interacting with others? Let me share a story with you. There was a man who wanted to become a successful entrepreneur. He had big dreams, but every time he tried to start a business, it failed. He blamed the economy, competition, even bad luck. But deep down, he realized the problem wasn't external, it was internal. He wasn't ready for success because he hadn't become the kind of person who could handle it. So he shifted his focus. Instead of chasing the next big opportunity, he started working on himself. He read books on leadership, learned how to communicate effectively, and surrounded himself with people who inspired him to grow. Slowly but surely, he transformed. And when the right opportunity came along, he was ready not because of chance, but because he had become the kind of person success was drawn to. Here's the thing, success doesn't respond to desperation. It responds to preparation. It's not about begging for a breakthrough, it's about becoming the person who's prepared for one. Success is something you attract by the person you become. That's a quote I've always loved because it captures the essence of personal growth. Your success is a reflection of your habits, your discipline, your ability to adapt, and your willingness to learn. If you want more opportunities, more wealth, or more fulfillment, the best way to get them is to become more. Let me give you a real-world example. There's a woman I know who worked in a large corporation. She was good at her job, but felt stuck. Promotions always seemed to go to someone else. One day, she decided to stop waiting for someone to notice her and took control of her own growth. She started attending workshops on leadership, learning skills outside her job description, and even volunteering for challenging projects no one else wanted. She didn't just become better at her job, she became someone people wanted to work with. Her colleagues admired her drive, and her bosses noticed her initiative. Within a year, she got promoted not because she begged for it, but because she had become the kind of person who naturally attracted opportunities. Here's why this works. The world responds to value. When you invest in yourself, you increase your value, and that value becomes magnetic. People are drawn to those who bring something to the table, whether it's a positive attitude, a unique skill, or a clear sense of purpose. Think about relationships for a moment. Whether it's personal or professional, the quality of your relationships is a direct reflection of who you are. If you want better relationships, don't just wish for them to become the kind of person who attracts them. Want trust? Be trustworthy. Want respect? Be respectful. Want love? Be loving. It all starts with you. The more you work on yourself, the more you'll find that the people and opportunities you're looking for begin to find their way to you. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you're at a networking event. One person is standing in the corner, complaining about their job and talking about how unlucky they are. Another person is engaged, curious, and genuinely interested in learning about others. Which one would you gravitate toward? It's obvious, isn't it? We're naturally drawn to people who radiate confidence, positivity, and purpose. And this isn't just about how others perceive you, it's about how you perceive yourself. When you grow as a person, you build a sense of self-worth that no one can take away from you. That confidence becomes your foundation, and it changes the way you approach every situation. Let's talk about mindset for a moment. If you see obstacles as barriers, you'll stop at the first sign of difficulty. But if you see them as opportunities to grow, you'll push forward. The way you think shapes your reality. Your mindset determines whether you give up or grow stronger. And the more you grow, the more you attract people and opportunities that match your level of growth. Here's another example. A young man I know wanted to break into a competitive industry but kept getting rejected. Instead of giving up, he asked himself, what can I do to become the kind of person this industry needs? He started studying the top performers, developing the skills they had, and reaching out to mentors. Within a year, not only did he get hired, but he also became a standout in his field. He didn't wait for the industry to accept him. He became someone the industry couldn't ignore. This is what it means to take ownership of your personal development. You don't wait for circumstances to change, you change yourself. And when you do, the world around you begins to shift. Every book you read, every skill you develop, every step you take toward becoming better, it all adds up. It shapes who you are, and who you are shapes what you attract. When you work on your discipline, opportunities follow. When you improve your communication, relationships thrive. When you expand your knowledge, doors open. The best part is that this process never ends. There's no limit to how much you can grow. The more you invest in yourself, the more you attract, and the more you can give back to the world around you. Life has a way of reflecting back what we give to it. It's almost like a mirror. The more effort we put into our growth, the more we see the world around us start to shift and evolve. People often want better circumstances, better relationships, and better opportunities, but they overlook one simple truth: change begins within. When you change yourself, everything around you begins to change. Think about it. Have you ever noticed that when you're in a positive mindset, things seem to flow more easily? The challenges don't feel as overwhelming and people around you seem more cooperative. That's not a coincidence. The way you show up in the world affects how the world shows up for you. Let me share a story about a man who once worked in a job he absolutely hated. He dreaded waking up in the morning and felt stuck in a never-ending cycle of frustration. He blamed his boss, his coworkers, even the industry itself for his unhappiness. But one day he decided to stop pointing fingers and start looking in the mirror. He asked himself, what can I do to improve myself? Instead of complaining about his situation, he started reading books on leadership and communication. He began setting goals, working on his attitude, and finding ways to contribute more at work. Slowly, his energy changed, and so did the way others responded to him. Within a year, not only did his job improve, but he also got promoted to a position that he once thought was out of reach. The circumstances didn't change on their own, he changed, and everything else followed. This is the essence of growth. Life doesn't give you what you want, it gives you who you are. If you want to see different results, you have to become a different person. As the saying goes, if you want things to change, you've got to change. I've seen this play out time and again in relationships. A woman I know was struggling in her marriage. She felt disconnected from her partner and often found herself frustrated and hurt. At one point, she realized that waiting for her partner to change wasn't going to solve anything. She decided to focus on herself, her mindset, her communication, and how she could contribute more positively to the relationship. It wasn't easy. At first, her efforts seemed to go unnoticed, but over time, as she grew, her partner started responding differently. They began having deeper conversations, showing more appreciation for each other, and building a stronger bond. What changed wasn't just the relationship, it was who she had become within it. This principle applies to every area of life. When you work on growing yourself, the world adjusts to meet the person you're becoming. It's not magic, it's alignment. You attract the people, opportunities, and circumstances that match your level of growth. Think about fitness for a moment. If you want to get healthier, you can't just wish for it. You have to change your habits, what you eat, how often you exercise, how you take care of your body. And as you make those changes, your body starts to reflect them. Your energy increases, your confidence grows, and even the way people perceive you shifts. It's not just about the weight you lose or the muscles you gain. It's about the transformation happening within you. Let me ask you this, have you ever tried to change someone else, maybe a friend, a family member, or a coworker? It's exhausting, isn't it? That's because true change doesn't come from trying to fix the world around us. It comes from fixing ourselves. When you work on becoming the best version of you, you inspire others to do the same. I've seen this happen with a team I once worked with. The leader was frustrated because the team wasn't performing at the level he wanted. He tried giving more instructions, setting stricter rules, and even adding pressure, but nothing seemed to work. One day, he decided to take a different approach. Instead of focusing on changing the team, he started working on himself. He became a better communicator, a better listener, and a better example of the behavior he wanted to see. Something incredible happened. As he grew, the team grew too. Productivity increased, morale improved, and the results followed. The leader didn't force the change, he became the change, and the team naturally responded. Your life does not get better by chance, it gets better by change. That's a truth we all need to embrace. Growth isn't something that happens to you, it's something you choose. And when you choose to grow, you start to see the ripple effects in every aspect of your life. This reminds me of a young man who wanted to build better friendships. He often felt isolated and wondered why people didn't reach out to him more. Instead of waiting for others to make the first move, he decided to take the initiative. He worked on becoming a better friend, someone who listens, supports, and shows up for others. As he grew in that role, his friendships deepened. People began reaching out to him, inviting him into their lives, and valuing his presence. The relationships he had always wanted weren't created by chance. They were a reflection of who he had become. Growth isn't always easy. It requires effort, consistency, and sometimes a willingness to face uncomfortable truths about ourselves. But the rewards are immeasurable. When you grow, you don't just change your circumstances, you change how you experience life itself. The beauty of this process is that it puts the power in your hands. You don't have to wait for the economy to improve, for someone to give you a break, or for the stars to align. You have the ability to start growing right where you are with what you have. And as you grow, the world around you begins to reflect that growth. Life is a mirror, and it will show you the results of your efforts to grow. When you change the person in the mirror, everything else begins to change too. As we bring all of this together, I want you to take a moment to reflect on something important. Everything we've talked about, growth, effort, personal development, attracting success, and becoming the kind of person who thrives, comes back to one central idea. You hold the power to shape your life. It's not the economy, your background, or even luck that determines your future. It's you. Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for fewer problems, wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenge, wish for more wisdom. The simple idea changes everything. It reminds us that life responds to the effort we put into becoming better versions of ourselves. Think about this: your life right now is a reflection of the habits, decisions, and mindset you've built over time. If you want to see something different, you don't have to wait for anyone's permission. You don't have to wait for the world to change. You can start working on yourself today, and little by little, the world will begin to shift with you. I've shared stories of people who transformed their lives by focusing on their growth. They didn't wait for opportunities to knock. They became the kind of people opportunities couldn't ignore. They didn't just improve their circumstances, they improved themselves. And as a result, their relationships, careers, and outlooks transformed. And the truth is, this isn't just for a select few. This is available to every single one of us. The person you are today doesn't have to be the person you are a year from now. You can start small, take consistent steps, and build momentum. Those small changes compounded over time will lead to results that you can't even imagine right now. Maybe it's picking up a book that challenges your thinking. Maybe it's learning a new skill, improving your health, or changing the way you approach your relationships. Whatever it is, start where you are. Remember, progress doesn't require perfection, it requires persistence. I know life can feel overwhelming at times. There are obstacles, setbacks, and moments when it seems like the effort isn't paying off. But that's the beauty of growth. It's not about instant gratification. It's about the person you're becoming in the process. The journey itself is where the transformation happens. Think about the people who inspire you, the ones who seem to radiate success, joy, and purpose. They didn't get there by chance. They made a decision to grow, and they followed through on it, day after day, even when it was hard. You can do the same. The most exciting part of this whole journey is that you'll start to see yourself differently. You'll realize that you're capable of more than you thought, that your potential is far greater than the limits you've placed on yourself. And once you see that, you'll never go back to the old ways of thinking or living. So here's my challenge to you. Leave here today with one commitment to grow. Start with one area, one habit, one change. Invest in yourself and watch how life begins to reflect that effort back to you. As you grow, everything around you will grow. Your opportunities, your relationships, your impact, it all starts with you. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for being open to the idea that your best days are ahead of you. This journey of growth isn't just about achieving more, it's about becoming more. And that's a journey worth taking.